Before we start the final part to the House series, I just want to say this has really been a fun journey for me. I've enjoyed sharing it with everybody that's watched, and I really appreciate the support. I know as this video series goes forward, I'm going to pick characters from shows that are in different genres, time periods, and just really different characters in general. I do know that going forward, I don't think most of them are going to be multi-parters. I'll do my best to contain them to one single episode. House was a special outlier at this, as I love talking about this show in particular, but I know that won't be the norm. Okay, for the final pre-metrics portion we're going to talk about, I'd like to say that I'm going to put some structure into this part and really break down the random areas of analysis I want to discuss. But these videos have had enough structure, enough talking points, and enough random numbered bullet points. I don't necessarily hate the last season of House. It's weird that Cuddy isn't there, and I can't say that I love that they threw in 2 completely new characters for the season, but they managed to wrap up things pretty well. But let's try something else. Let's suppose the show ends differently than it actually does. What types of endings can we imagine? If you haven't checked it out, Jesse Tribble, another YouTuber, does a fantastic analysis on House called Everything But the Kitchen Sink. I absolutely recommend checking it out, as he was one of the inspirations for this video, and does a fantastic analysis of House and, well, you know. In his video series, he states that the ending of the show should have come at the ending of the broken plotline, the first 2 episodes of season 6. He claims as House smiles as he's riding the bus out, that's the perfect moment to end the show. And I don't entirely disagree either. As Jesse states in his video, there's always a point in time when a show starts to go downhill. I really like the idea of House's final bout being in a new place, surrounded by people he doesn't know, finally learning to trust those around him and be a nice person. It's great. That shot on the bus with his little growing smirk, it's amazing, and it makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. Let's change it up a bit though. Let's say the ending of the show comes at the end of season 6, rather than the beginning. I will say I don't think that season 6 is the best season, not even close.
Anyone ever tell you can be a real buzzkill?
Yes.
It has some bad episodes, and not everything House does is great. I will say that the development for House comes along the most in this season, and we see him in a completely different light. It makes me happy to think about this being the show's ending. Just as Jesse says, there's a moment where he should go, stop the show. I feel this way about this moment right here. Boom. That's it.
Boom.
What would have happened if Lisa Edelstein hadn't left the show in the final season? If you're not aware, Lisa Edelstein left the show over a contract dispute and was very quickly written off. But can we imagine what might have happened to House's arc if she stayed for the final season? Here's my take. I don't think Wilson would have died. House ramming Cuddy's house at the end of season 7 and fleeing the country would still happen. So let's assume that House goes to jail at the beginning of season 8. Let's say he gets out, but Cuddy is still the Dean of Medicine. Let's say it takes a long time, but House finally gets back into her good graces, apologizes for what he's done, and tells her that he can't live without her. Let's say he also says he will not take a single pill while they're together. So let's say they get back together. What now? Cuddy gets a huge opportunity to be the Dean of Medicine of a huge hospital out of state. But let's say that hospital doesn't have a diagnostics department. House would have to say goodbye to being the type of doctor he is, goodbye to his team, and maybe most importantly, goodbye to Wilson. Wilson will still be alive in this scenario, but House would have to cope with not having his best friend around and going through a huge lifestyle change. And maybe House would propose to Cuddy in the final season.
Gregory House. Will you marry me?
Pledging his loyalty to somebody, something he's never done. I think I might have really enjoyed this type of final season, but, you know, whatever. I mentioned this in passing in the first video, but House is not known for being the most medically accurate show. The show works more as a character study of a grumpy, intelligent man and a mystery drama than it cares about being medically accurate. The show has so many things that are painfully inaccurate that almost distract you at times, and some of them are hilarious.
Do you have hair in your special place?
Miss Jamie?
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
Sign on the door says I'm a diagnostician. Cool diagnosis means I'm finished.
Let's hold it right there. The diagnostics department that House leads isn't even a thing. Furthermore, physicians tend to have specialties or areas of expertise that they focus on. House and his team are seen doing every type of procedure, test, and every surgery on every part of the body you could think of. This is not indicative of a real hospital, where specific physicians have their area of expertise. Like, a doctor wouldn't just walk in during I also love how House can pull diagnoses out of complete thin air.
Tested for Erdheim-Chester disease.
All right, I'm pausing it and I'm looking up what Erdheim-Chester is because this is ridiculous.
Hours and hours of research would have to go into this. House being able to name these zebra diagnoses when something far more common is likely is absurd and unrealistic. Another thing that bothers me about House is how he tells his teams to break into people's houses to find clues about their lifestyle and what they might be hiding. I mean, this is ridiculous. Like, even if this has to happen, why would an overqualified doctor do it? House does stack up pretty well compared to most other medical shows, but falls way short when you compare it to shows like The Good Doctor or ER. Then again, we don't watch it because it's accurate, do we?
Gotcha.
You poor dumb bastard.
Some of the better shows of television tend to have one or two episodes that really stand out above the rest. One that comes to mind as soon as you think of the show. The paintball episode of Community is a great example of this. And for House, it's the episodes House's Head and Wilson's Heart, a two-part series that ends season 4. House's Head starts with House in a strip club with no memory of how he got there. He's confused, disoriented, and appears to have a recent head trauma. When he walks outside and realizes he was part of a bus crash, he remembers a patient riding on the bus was sick prior to the crash, but doesn't remember much more than that. He then has to search his own mind and pushes himself to the limits to discover who this mystery patient was. And when the big reveal happens and we discover who it is, the team has to say goodbye to a recurring character. The reason these episodes are so memorable is not just because they embody everything that makes the show interesting, but more importantly, they mix up that formula that I talk about. There's no patient, no stereotypical banter between side characters, just suspense, mystery, and emotion. We don't rely on quippy jokes or random ethereal diagnoses. I love this story arc because it shows how far House is willing to go to solve a case. And because this one hits so close to home, he's willing to put it all on the line. I'm sure you know this, but if you don't, Hugh Laurie is actually British.
Your address, please. My address, right. My address is number 22.
I didn't know this back when the show was on, because I don't think I'd seen him in anything else. It's really uncanny to see Hugh actually speaking in his normal voice in interviews.
Really, the one thing I have carried over from then is when I do play another role now and a director says action, I start limping.
I also love how they kind of low-key poke fun at him not being American.
Also, I hate tea.
And
I assume minimal at best is your stiff upper lip British way of saying no chance in hell.
I'm Australian.
You put the Queen on your money. You're British.
first off, let's be crystal clear. Hugh Laurie's accent, it's so good. It is one of the best accents you'll ever see from any actor.
That really nailed the accent.
It's so good that when he was auditioning for the show, a producer didn't know he was British and said something along the lines of, "Yeah, this guy's great. We need American guys like him." Listen to this story by actor and comedian Stephen Fry, who starred alongside Hugh Laurie in a comedy show in the 80s.
He, for very good reasons, playing an American in his series House, keeps his American accent all day. It'd be rather stupid to dive in and out of it, and so, of course, he finds it very embarrassing if an English person comes and goes, "Hi, great to see you, Steve. How you doing?" Hugh, snap out of it, man.
Hugh Laurie's accent in House really sets the standard of how an American accent can be delivered by someone who isn't American. And while there are plenty of other actors who can nail American accents, it usually isn't a two-way street.
I hope you don't think I'm being meddlesome. It's just that I think you should be careful with this guy.
We're finally here. The metrics. The whole point of these videos. I wanted to really try and quantify an actor or actress's performance in a way that we could compare it to others. Is House a better character than somebody like Don Draper? Eleven? Frasier? Trying to be objective about how we quantify the most relevant things that contribute to our opinions is hard. But I've categorized what I think are the most important metrics in measuring if someone's the best. I've broken it down into 6 categories. As I said in the first video, not each of these categories is going to carry the same weight. Certain metrics are undeniably more important than others, and the scores of those should reflect that. Here, let's visualize this. I'm going to break down the 6 measures into 3 different categories. The yellow category will be normal weight, or out of 10 points. The red category will be double weight, or worth double the points. So if House scores a 10 out of 10 on one of the 2 measures in this category, that'll get him 20 points towards his overall score. The green category will be half weight, and obviously will be worth half as much. If House scores a 10 out of 10 on one of the measures in this category, it'll only get him 5 points towards the overall score. This will give us an overall denominator of 70 points. Okay, let's start with a measure in the yellow, or the normal category weight. To clarify here, we're not going to talk about the show's success in terms of awards. We're going to stick to only the character we're talking about. And while the consensus is that Hugh Laurie really put on a clinic of terrific acting in the 8 seasons of House, his resume doesn't reflect that. He did win 2 Golden Globes back-to-back years in 2006 and 2007, and was nominated for 6 straight years. Hugh was also nominated for 4 straight years of Emmys, but he never won one. And while Hugh won an amalgamation of awards for House, I really don't think he got the recognition he deserved. You do have to look at the odds of the other actors he was stacked up against. Actor like James Spader in Boston Legal and Bryan Cranston in Breaking Bad. On an individual level, yes, he did amazing, but his performance was ultimately overcast by the fact that the show didn't do as well as it could have, and other terrific performances in Hollywood. Now, let's look at a metric in the double weight category. The second metric in determining if House is the best is how great of a performance he gave to his character. I'm measuring this by how great a job the actor did with the execution of portraying the character. How Hugh was able to flawlessly perform his accent, his deep, complex, nuanced looks, the overall depth and mystery the character emanated, his line deliveries, humor, and appropriate facial expressions, how he chose to convey emotion, and how you can sense his apprehension, his judgments, his intelligence. I think this is one of House's greatest strengths on the list. The whole reason anybody watched this show is to see how House will react, speak, and, well, do his thing. The performance Hugh Laurie gave stands out amongst most television show leads, and it's hard to find an actor that portrays and embodies a character so well. Now let's look at the first metric in the half-weight category, which will only net House half the points. The carry factor. How much does the character of House really carry and drive the success and popularity of the show? How much does his character and performance shoulder the load of the series? I mean, the show is named after him. But that isn't always indicative how he or she is the only thing that matters. Look at the show Seinfeld. How much does the main character, Jerry Seinfeld, really carry the show? He is the most integral character. And would the show exist if he wasn't present? Hell, the show's named after him too. But is he the funniest or best character? There's no show without House. His acting, his character, all his subplots. That's what makes the show so rewatchable and memorable. I've praised Robert Sean Leonard and Lisa Edelstein before because they are great. They definitely do add an element of depth to the show. But can we imagine the show without House? Just Cuddy, Wilson, and team members solving cases without him? The show would have died at season 1.
It's Greek for duh.
Now let's look at the second metric in the normal weight category. I define show presence as meaning two things: quality and popularity. When we talk about the highest quality television shows, like amazing quality, we think of Breaking Bad, The Wire. Your first thought might not be House. As I've said before, House is a good show and I think it's better than average, but it's not top shelf. Viewers don't really care about anything on the show that isn't related to House. No one has ever laid in bed at 1 a.m. and thought,
I wonder if Cameron and Chase are gonna get over their marital problems.
Like, we don't care. And while the side characters are not doing an awful job, I think the show struggles to break the mold at times. If House isn't on screen, or maybe Wilson, we just kinda get bored. We aren't gripped by every character and their motivations. When it comes to popularity, can we classify how popular the show is? If we wanted to look by subreddits, or specific online communities dedicated to particular topics, movies, shows, House ranks 170 out of all TV shows as far as volume. In a poll done a few years back about the top 100 shows of all time, House ranks a respectable 67. And if we were to look at overall IMDb and critic ratings, the show's highly rated. But I'd say it's more of a mid-tier popular show that, what? Huh? What? I'd love to be able to directly compare character popularity, but we can't say House is more popular than Leslie Knope because more people at my local 7-Eleven were talking about House. Is Walter White a more popular character than House? Yes. But how do we know that? Because more people talk about him more? Or there's more reruns on TV? Or maybe the show ended more recently? Or he's just cooler? Or in more memes? This is why I stuck to the overall greatness of the show. I have gotten off topic. What have I gotten myself into? Let's look at the second half-weight category first. I want to leave the final double weight one for last. House is, well, he's unique. Maybe not 4-leaf clover unique, but I think the writers gave him some character nuances you don't see on other shows. But let's be objective. First and foremost, House is a doctor, one of about 5,000 that you see on TV. And as I said in the first video, he is a take on Sherlock Holmes, so he's not completely original. But his tendencies of being a stupidly intelligent, drug-indulging loner who can quip his way out of a cardboard box, it's catchy. He limps while sabotaging his life, all the while being hilarious and offensive on a TV show that's not really a comedy. It's good, and we watch it because it's good, and because it's unique. perhaps the most pivotal part of any good character is how well they're written. So many shows have great visuals, fun action sequences, and yes, terrific performances. But the writing is what makes audiences come back for more. Well-written characters get entangled in interesting dialogue and conflicts. They act as springboards and pawns for deeply moving narratives. The nuances of profound writing can transcend generations and define an era. I'm at a crossroads here, because I think House is fantastically interesting, and he gets mixed up in some really interesting stories. But I doubt this is the show's real strength. I think he's a fun, unique character who's terrifically acted, instead of a show that has impeccable writing. Not every show has to be a masterpiece, and I'm not saying House is awful. Some of the narratives on the show are very intelligently written, and they have great payoffs. They took chances sometimes, and sometimes it worked. I just don't think that the show's main strength is the quality of the writing. And I don't think the writing of House's character arc and all the decisions they made for him were the best. So now let's take a look at all the metrics and the final score. So that might look bad. It is a D letter grade, so I might not give letter grades, since they seem kind of skewed. I doubt 47 out of 70 will be the final best character. But you know what? Who knows? I think comparing characters to not only just one singular grade, but each of the metrics individually will be interesting. House's character stands out so prominently, mostly because of the tremendous job that Hugh Laurie does. He's an amazing actor. House is a fun show and a fun escape. Here's a summary again of House's profile. I'm gonna go grab a coffee and leave this here for a minute for some analytical digestion. I tried to be really honest about all the aspects of House and set up a good foundation to compare TV characters to each other. House definitely has a soft spot in my heart, but I didn't want that to affect the grades. We need to be non-biased and impartial in order to really find the best TV character ever. I want to talk a little bit more informally here. I mentioned it in the first video, but my wife and I started watching House about 3 years ago when COVID really hit. I can't believe it's been 3 years. Maybe watching a doctor show wasn't the best idea as an escape from all the craziness that was happening around us.
You're an idiot.
But we did. And honestly, I'm very fond of the show and the time that we spent escaping into House's whirlwind of a life. It created important memories that I'll share forever. Good memories that I'll always associate when I see the show now. Whenever I see a House clip on YouTube or a rerun of the show on TV, I think of how House now feels like my quarantine buddy. How we just kind of hung out on the couch together and binged the show when we weren't allowed to leave our houses. But that is my own personal connection. I know that not everyone has those specific feelings about House. I think it's a great show. It was so popular and represents the TV zeitgeist so well. And I think that choosing this show as a jumping off point for this series is going to be special to me. The format of this channel, though, is going to change a little bit going forward. I'm going to put out videos more frequently and set a better pace than I have in the past. Like I said before, these videos going forward will be single-parters. The format of what I cover will be the same. I'll just do it a little bit faster. I want to really start to analyze characters and get some names on the board so we can start to compare them to each other. I already have my next 2 characters picked out, and I'm working on those videos now, so stay tuned. I promise you will not be disappointed. Thank you again for watching. I'll talk to you all soon.